All right, folks, for the next 30 minutes, we have Jim Newcomer on the line. And we're really going to discuss the history of gold, silver, precious metals, and why it's probably in your best interest to hedge your bets and at least have some of these precious metals as the economy continues to decline. For instance, Pravda is reporting today, and I think it's been confirmed that Russia has dropped the dollar as its world reserve currency and adopted the euro. And openly, China and Brazil are also going to be dropping the dollar. If you don't think that's going to affect the dollar's worth in the next coming months, you're out of your mind. How are you tonight, Jim?
I'm just fine. How are you this evening?
Very, very good. Why don't you?
Nice to be on with you.
Well, thank you. Why don't you explain to the listeners out there, why these precious metals have been worth, really have had an intrinsic value really throughout history?
Well, they're basically a commodity. They're indestructible, virtually indestructible. They don't tarnish. They don't corrode. What happens is that there's only a certain amount of it available in the world. And as more and more people search for it or seek for it or want it, the price of it goes up. Now, like any other commodity, if you get into a situation like you're in today, where the dollar is devaluing by putting out fiat currencies out there that aren't backed by anything, the more money you put out there, the more money is available to buy these commodities, and the higher the commodities goes. It's basic inflation. So while the dollar devalues, the value of the commodities increase.
And, it was only really, 5-6 years ago when gold was selling at around $300 an ounce, sometimes below, sometimes a little bit above. And now it's over 900. It's almost 1,000 at this point.
It's over 900. It did peak here a year ago, last March 17th. It peaked at, I think it closed at 1,011. And it hasn't attained that yet. It did earlier this year in February. It went up to just short of $1,000, and I had truly thought that it would exceed it, and probably exceed the 1,011 that it hit a year ago, last March 17th. But it's certainly showing great improvement here of late. I mean, this week we've got gold up 7%. It's up 3.5% today, or this week. But since the beginning of the month, it's up 7%. So we are showing some good gains in both gold and silver. And silver's done exceptionally well this year. Silver is up, I believe, around 31% since the beginning of the year.
Well, I mean, again, with these currencies, you have a hard asset. And right now, again, with the dollar being dropped as a world currency, I mean, I don't think people understand how much effect that can have on their daily lives. If we're no longer the world reserve currency, how much time does the dollar really have left?
Well, I quite honestly, I think it has very little time. It literally pulls the rug out from under the dollar. I mean, the world has been buying and selling gold to try to adjust the dollar, to try to prop it up. Other countries have been deflating their money in order to prop the dollar up, and we see it every day. I mean, you see the dollar going up, and at the same time you see gold going up. Well, that's not supposed to happen. But it has occurred of late. We're in dire economic straits right now. Everybody was trying to prop it up because it was the world's currency. But as you said, people are fleeing it.
And well, not only are they fleeing it, I mean, there's conferences now where they're openly discussing a world currency and really have implemented this through the IMF with the SDR units, the special drawing rights. We've taken over $1 trillion of those in the past couple months. Mexico took $47 billion from the IMF, and now they're announcing they may just dissolve the SEC. This really looks like they're getting ready to blow out this economy. How can people protect themselves?
Well, the way they can protect themselves is put their money into precious metals, just like countries are doing. The banks in Europe right now, 60% of their assets are in precious metals. China has $1.7 trillion in foreign currency, and they're slowly moving that into hard assets. A lot of it, the precious metals. They purchased 500 tons of metals here in the last couple of years, and they did it on the sly. They're not going to tell anybody that they're doing it because that'll drive the market up, and it doesn't behoove them to buy it at a higher price. So they do it, a little bit at a time, and it's a plan for them to get their money out of currency. A lot of the currency they have is ours. They've been propping us up for years, and it's time for them to, they've taken a hard look at what they're doing and where we're going, and they said, well, we can't do it anymore. We're going to put it into hard currency or hard assets that we know we can get whatever evolves, whether it be a new world currency or whether it be the yuan in China or whatever it is, they'll have hard assets that they can exchange for the new world currency.
So what do you see in the future, like I'd say the near future, the next 3 to 6 months for silver and gold? Do you think that gold is just going to shoot through the roof? Are we going to see, prices like we've never seen before? Is it going to relatively stay around the same price? Or are we not going to see this for a year? What's your view?
Well, my view is that it should increase fairly substantially. For me to pick a figure would be ludicrous. Mm-hmm. There are people out there talking, saying $1,500, other people saying $2,000 an ounce. It could happen. It could very well happen because it has been underpriced for a long time. The central banks around the world have tried to hold the price of it down, but more and more people are becoming aware of it, and more demand is growing for it. The demand itself will drive the price of it up.
Why don't you give out the number for Midas Resources so people out there listening can get involved in getting some silver and gold for themselves?
Absolutely. Let me explain. If you have questions about the metals, the broker's there to answer any questions about how you purchased them, why you purchased them, the different types of metals, the advantages of the different types. Our number is 1-800-686-2237. And we have the Alex Jones special that was running today. If I can go through that, if we have time to do that real quick.
Sure.
We had two pre-1933 gold coins, a $20 Liberty at $15.91. That's a VF condition. A $10 Liberty, which is a half-ounce coin, at $788. And then we have the Lakota National Silver Round, Lakota Nation Silver Rounds. These are just beautiful coins put up by the Lakota Nation. They're at $19.66 each, or $393.20 a roll. That's a roll of 20. In addition, they're offering the Franklin half dollars at $8.69. They're at $173.80 a roll. And the British Sovereign and the 20 franc coin. That could either be French, Swiss, or a Belgian franc coin. So they're real good opportunities. These are coins that Ted had committed to here probably 4 weeks ago, so they're really underpriced in the market right now. We're hoping to try to hold this through the weekend. We should be able to hold it through tomorrow. I know I was looking at the Asian market, and it's pretty stable. Mm-hmm. But gold went up today $16 or $60.70. So we had a nice little bump today of almost 2%. It closed at $954.90. Silver's up 30% today, or 30 cents today. So it's up a little over 2%. So the markets are moving. I think that we're going to see this in the next couple of weeks. I think we could see some pretty great movement, and heaven forbid there be a fat tail event or something out there that a crisis, international crisis, that would only serve to pour gasoline on the fire. So,
people always ask me, and they call up when we're talking about precious metals, and they say, well, how is it going to work? How am I going to actually exchange this for something of value? Say the dollar crashes. And I always tell them, well, you're going to want smaller, currencies. You're going to want maybe ounces of silver, half ounces of silver, so you can trade those for, common goods like food and whatever. But you're going to want gold in case maybe you want to get out of the country or you want to travel around, correct?
Absolutely. We look at silver as sort of like a checking account or the petty cash. That would be used in day-to-day transactions. And if it does collapse to zero, there'll be charts put out in the newspapers, if there's any newspapers left, or on television that'll show the exchange rate by the weight of the silver or by the type of silver that you have. The gold, on the other hand, is more like a savings account, like you said, an emergency thing. You run out of silver, obviously you can exchange the gold for silver equal, dollars worth of silver equal exchange for the silver, so that you will have the day-to-day currency to go out and make the day-to-day purchases and things. But the gold will be the big asset that could get you out of the country. But if it collapses here, it's going to collapse around the world. I'm certain of that. So, but obviously, whenever it is restructured, reset up, and however it's reset up, you're going to be far ahead by holding the precious metals.
It just strikes me as so insane how much gold has gone up in such a short period of time. Can you think of any other investment where you literally could have tripled your money in under 7 years? I mean, I really only started listening to Alex Jones and becoming awake, after 9/11 in 2002 and then in 2003. And this was when gold again was somewhere between $275 and maybe $330 an ounce. And now, you're talking, on the low end, maybe $850. And like you said, just last year, over $1,000. So is there any other investment out there that even comes close to what gold has done?
The only one that comes to mind is petroleum. And that's speculation, or primarily speculation that did that. Mm-hmm. But obviously the commodities, and copper showed a lot of growth. So copper did a real good job of expanding and gave some great returns. But the point is that because they're commodities, even if the value goes down, they're going to buy the same amount of goods and services no matter what the price of it is.